Alrighty, so today's adventure, well, this week's adventure is I'm dealing with this broken off shifter linkage bracket. So as you can see here, blown apart aluminum casing up here. Of course, I started this and thought it would be a video to do after the fact, but this fucker bolts in up there like so. Yeah, bolts up in there like that, right? So I bought this truck this way. I believe it's a 4R100. It's an 05 Excursion with a V10 in it. Doesn't have the tow haul mode on it. That's what makes me believe it's the 4R. I'm not too familiar site-wise with transmissions. Anyhow, so that fucker blew off of there, and the guy sold it to me real cheap for that reason. He said that the bracket was broken. So I drove an hour and a half out to PA, look at this thing to see that it broke off the transmission. The bracket itself was fine. So initially I thought about making a bracket that would bolt here, go up over the front drive shaft, and, you know, make its way over to here to hold the linkage still. That was just the initial thought when I went and looked at the truck and took the gamble by buying it. After looking at it closer, I figured it would be much better, easier to utilize 2 or 3 bolts of the pan to make a bracket with that. So with what I'm going with now, I got this piece of angle. I just measured out these bolts. What I did was I put paint marker all over the heads of the bolt, and I stuck the plate up there, and then whatever marks I had left over here, I just drilled them out. They are M8 bolts, which is 5/16 basically. So this is going to bolt on right there, and then I'm going to, if I wasn't laying on a truck, it'd be a lot easier to explain this. So that's going to be bolted on there. Then I'm going to have a plate. I'm going to notch it. That's going to come down here, so it'll look kind of like a plus sign, if you will. That sheet, the plate, will go up there like that. And I got to notch a hole out for this to fit into and lock in, and that'll be that. It's so far it looks extremely simple. I mean, I'm already kind of halfway there right now, and I just literally started this project. Let's get out of here. So this has the primer on it. I marked the hole in which I'm going to make in this plate here. This is super thin stuff. I don't know, 1/8 inch maybe. It was shit the metal shop had laying around left over that I bought dirt cheap. So I put that on there, just hit it real quick, dead center with the spray paint. I got to get back under there and measure the height to see, you know, I don't want to make it too long or too short. I mean, I'd rather make it too long if anything and cut it down. But I think it's going to be kind of like yay long. And I'm literally just going to cut a rectangle out like that. As far as this hole goes, worst case scenario, I'm going to use a torch, which I'd rather not do because I'm not a very still-handed person. But I don't know, maybe that's a 1-inch hole. Hopefully I got a 1-inch hole saw that I can make the actual hole with, and then I can use the cutoff wheel to cut the notch out there. And once that's out, I notch in the center here, slip it over that, the piece like that, and I'll burn it in all 4 corners, and that'll hold it in place and keep the bracket happy. If anything, I might have to do a bit of gusset work, but I don't think I'm going to have to, because, I mean, how much pressure could you possibly put on a shifter bracket? In the worst case scenario, you're on a hill with the load on the trans, but I think just me notching it down, I don't know, say 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch deep, and then welding in all 4 corners, I think that'll be heavy duty enough, considering it's 1/8 inch plate. I mean, this is super heavy for what it is. It's with the rust, it's flared out a little more than what it's supposed to be, but I mean, it's probably like 3/16 steel they used to build this shit, on top of it being basically gusset. So that's the plan. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm going for. So I notched the angle iron, and all I used was basically a cutoff wheel. I had to kind of use the cutoff wheel in a back and forth motion once I went down the whole length to bore it out a little bit, because this 1/8 inch shit is just a little bit thicker than a cutoff wheel. That's it. So what I'm probably going to do next is take this all back off, burn it all in, nice and you know, plumb, if you will. So here I ordered spacers. They're 5/16 or M8s spacers. I forget how much I needed. I think it was like 3/8 of an inch. I might have shot a little higher. I think it was in metric form. So I think it was actually like 12 millimeter for the height. So it'll be a little more than what I need, but that's fine. They're through holes here. So I just need to get some longer hardware, which I have a hardware set, and it does it. Online it says that these bolts are M8s by 1.25. So if that's correct, which I didn't confirm it, but if that's correct, I already have all that thread pitch and shit inside in 10.9 bolts. So I just got to get some longer bolts with those spacers, and because you got this lip of the transmission pan, that's the reason for the spacers, to avoid the lip. Mount that flush, and that'll sit right in there. As you can see, I don't have it completely snapped in. That's just because I didn't want to keep fighting with it, but I did snap it in. That was a 7/8 hole. Well, I measured it. It appeared to be about 7/8. It was just under 15/16, which is 7/8. So I used a 7/8 hole saw and went through it. It was a smidge smaller when I compared it to the hole in the factory bracket. So I used the little die grinder. I just cleaned it up with the die grinder, and it fit absolutely perfect. So I'm going to take this all back off, probably weld it up real quick, and then just wait for my spacers to come in, and that should be that. Well, here it is. Turns out the piece I cut the hole in up there to the angle iron, turns out that might have been galvanized, because had some of them galvanized streaks blowing off of it. Signs of galvanized. I thought it kind of looked like it was coated, or I just thought it might have been really shiny steel, but like really fresh. But yeah, I think it was coated. But that's the end product there. I'm gonna let it cool down, get some paint on it, and just wait for my spacers to come in to throw it on. All right, so for the bolt, I use this here M8 by 1 1/4 by 30. This is a whole metric kit that I bought from Amazon. It's much longer than the factory bolts. Are extremely small. And what I did for a spacer, I had bought some on Amazon. They wound up getting pushed back like a week. So I figured out, fuck it, I'll just use washers or something. Well, then as I was grabbing washers, I looked at a 3/8 nut, which is kind of like the next size up from M8 in the standard world. The height of it was about perfect. So I put 2 nuts on the 2 longer bolts, and that was what I needed for hardware. So I just completely put it back together. There's that. It's butt up there nice and tight. I torqued it. These pan bolts call for 10 to 12 foot-pounds, or like 12 foot-pounds is like 144 inch-pounds. So I just did that. I put never sees all over the bolts because this aluminum shit, you know how it is. But that's it up in there. She's locked in place. The only other thing I'm gonna do is put a zip tie around this. Just zip tie it right to the plate. I might do a little zip tie right up here too, because this had a clip on the factory piece that snapped off. So that's obviously gone. But yeah, that'll hold on right there, and this is all back together, and she's holding in gear right now. Check this shit out. Bam. And I'm on a hill right now, so that's like hard pressure on the trans. Neutral. Drive. It's all clicking in nice. It looks like the needle might need to get adjusted, but it's probably an old ass cable anyhow. But before, that shifter, you'd grab it and it would just drop to the ground like there was no shifter cable hooked up, because it was pulling that whole cable instead of just the inside part of the cable. The whole thing was moving. So it's doing everything it's supposed to do now. Hopefully it just holds up over time and abuse, but I don't see it busting anything up on that 1/8 inch steel. So I'm happy about it. That was a good fix. Saved the transmission. I threw all the old parts down here in the cubby, because I mean, let's say next week this trans grenades on me or something. Well, then I'm going to buy one. I'll just throw the original bracket back on, or I'll just put a ZF6 in it at that point. But it works out. I'm happy.